edition of Wings Weekly. Coach Anzalone joining me once again, and a lot of games to talk about, Coach. Some very good things happening. Of course, we're picking up a big win here at the OD Friday night. Let's go back and look at Wednesday's game in Minot, though. Another close win up there, a close game up there, 4-3, and kind of what you guys expected it to be, a real battle again, where both teams really laying it all out there and ended up coming up a little bit short, but again, some positive things. What were your thoughts of the Minot game?
I thought we worked hard. I thought we did some good things. The chemistry of our overall game was off on Wednesday night. They would probably tell you their chemistry was a little off as well. Anytime you give up the type of goal that we gave up from a weird angle in the first 5 minutes of a period, that means you're chasing the game from the start. That's no fun. It puts you behind the 8 ball. We kept plugging, we kept working, but we missed the net a lot. We fell down a lot, got knocked off the puck a lot. Them too, they fell down a lot. It was just a strange game. What I liked is that we kept plugging. We got down 3-0. We called a timeout, and our guys did a really good job coming out of the timeout. Just in terms of sticking with the plan, plugging through it, trying to battle. We got it to 3-2. They got it to 4-2. Anytime you get into penalty trouble and 3 of your better PK defensemen are in the box at one time, you're going to have a really hard time killing penalties. And so that put them ahead 4-2. And then we kept poking and prying late. Rue made a great play to Payne, 4-3. And then Kevin Fitzgerald, with 18 seconds left, had a golden opportunity to tie the game with the goalie pulled, and unfortunately shot it into the goalie. So, like you described, tight game, but a different tight game, a weird tight game, a tight game where the chemistry was off. But again, good work ethic, some good things we could take into Friday.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, both teams, it seemed like were a little off their game with some weird things happening. The goal you mentioned early on was from behind the goal line, actually, or below the goal line, and Walker was able to kind of bank it in off of the shoulder of Peter Thome, and that kind of set the tone. But then, as you mentioned, after the timeout, you guys really regrouped and were able to bounce back and make it a heck of an exciting game at the end. Friday night here, probably my favorite game of the year so far. It was exciting. The crowd was into it. There was a little bit of everything going on. The Wings were manufacturing scoring chances and burying the puck when they had those scoring chances. Overall, they seem to be skating with a lot of pop and a lot of happy to be playing in this building. And what were your thoughts on the Friday game?
There were 3 things I really liked about Friday's game. One, we scored first, and we were never chasing the game. And there were some close call moments in the game, but we got up 2-0, and it never got to be 2-1. We stayed in the driver's seat all night. We scored first. We stayed in the driver's seat. I like that. Peter Thome made 3 really big saves at key times in the game. That's a big reason why, like I said, 2-0 was never 2-1. There were never any close calls on the scoreboard, and Brookings had some good chances. And then the third thing I liked about the game is we really had good puck possession time at moments, and we kept them away from our net, 200 feet from our net. And then when they got to our net, maybe they didn't have the pop they've had in the past because we wore them down, we made good investments in their end zone and forced them to defend. And then as the game went along, there was more emotion in it. There was some pushing and shoving after the whistle, kind of got the crowd going in the third. They were trying to get back in, and sometimes when you get back in, you get a little rambunctious, and that always ignites the home crowd. When the road team starts doing some things to get back in, it maybe gets into a little bit of penalty trouble. So you're right, it had a lot of entertaining elements to it. And I was just really happy we could get the shutout and we could win 4-0 and not 1-0. I mean, I really think that was big for our group.
Well, it was interesting because last week at Wings Weekly, when I talked with the leadership group of Vokason, DeYoung, and Hammer, they kind of told me they're like, it does feel like there's something building and that we are, as Coach says, knocking on the door. It's time to kick it in. And I was like, man, I don't want to get ahead of myself. But Friday night's game, it kind of felt like that. I mean, what could have been 5 goals with one waved off again, but you guys are able to again score some goals. Good things happening, power plays and the penalty kill both were strong and has been really overall. But again, a very exciting game. And yeah, as you mentioned, Brookings has a different style of play, and you guys were able to kind of dictate what kind of game it was going to be by wearing them down and getting them along the boards and so on. and it's kind of interesting because when you go, then you look at Saturday's game, and Bismarck's a totally different kind of team. And like Coach Gratton said, you can push people to the boards, but you can't push them to the center of the ice. And Brookings, and after 3 games in 4 games, or 4 days, excuse me, I think the Wings were feeling it a little bit, and maybe didn't play with the kind of pop that they had Friday night, as we talked about. But is there a way to combat that if you want to play the kind of game that you did against Brookings, against Bismarck? I mean, how, like Coach said, you can't push it out to the inside, but is there a way to combat that? Because it just seemed like Bismarck was much more physical as a whole, and they were fresh legs, of course, as we talked about, and as Coach Gratton said too. When I was talking to him in between the periods, it's not an excuse; it's a reason. I mean, Wings had played a lot more games over the course of the last 5 days than Bismarck had, but it just Saturday felt real flat. And even the crowd, to be honest with you, it just felt like a road game. I mentioned.
You're right. It is a reality. 3 and 4 days is tough, but here's another reality. When your body's tired, we all know this from the professional world, you got to be really, really smart to make the game simple and easier. And we talked about this going into the game on Saturday. My disappointment is we didn't do a very good job executing the plan. We talked about wanting to play great, disciplined, top of the circle to top of the circle hockey, and that's puck management. And Bismarck certainly does some things to force you to make mistakes, especially when you're tired. I have to give them credit, even though they're the rival and nobody likes them. They did a good job of that. But we just did not take good enough care of the puck. We did not play simple enough, and as a result, we weren't able to have 30-second shifts. We were chasing their numbers a lot rather than have them defend us. They have some strengths. They have a number of older players, no question about it. But we didn't do enough to help our cause. I thought we tried. I thought we worked. Could we have worked harder? You bet. But we needed to work much smarter, and that for me is the puck management. I am hoping that as we move forward here this week and into our next game against them, not this weekend, but the next weekend, we will show lesson learned. We had a really good talk about this Monday morning, as a team, about, why didn't we do some of the things we talked about needing to do? Why did we do some other things? And what can we do in the future to make sure we follow the plan when we know it's going to be an uphill climb? But don't make it harder on yourself. Try to make it simpler and easier. And we didn't do enough of that. And as a result, we fell 4-1, despite being right there in the third and tying the game, which was a big power play goal. We had a chance. I just wish we would have been a little harder, but way more intelligent.
Now, as you mentioned, tying the game on the power play goal, it felt like, okay, that now this is going to turn into a real battle. But again, kind of the scale tilted towards the Bismarck side. This is kind of an odd question, perhaps, but I was feeling as the game went along, and it just felt like the crowd was getting drained, the players were getting drained. I kept thinking, and I know the league is trying to crack down on this kind of stuff, but I thought, man, maybe now would be the time to drop the mitts and get some fire in this team and in the crowd. Does that? I know you've said before that generally, those players know when it's time to do that and when it's necessary and stuff. It just felt like a time when maybe the crowd would have got up on their feet and got some energy in the building for both the team and the crowd. But is that something that occurs to you at different points throughout the game, or is it just we're not, that's not the kind of players we have and the kind of team we have?
No, as a coach, that's not my place to really get involved in that type of thing. I'm a real big believer that's got to be the players. But here's what I tell you. You need a dance partner to dance.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're dancing alone on the stage.
Right.
And Bismarck had a lead.
They're not going to. Right.
They didn't. I don't think. Now I'm not in the game. I wear dress shoes and a shirt and tie, but I don't think anybody was going for that. I think we had some guys trying to find ways to spark the group, since we weren't sparking the group with tons of shots and scoring chances, and spark the crowd.
Yeah.
But there were no takers on the dance floor. That's what I felt from the bench.
Oh, and the way it goes, like you said, it takes two. Going forward, of course, the Austin Bruins coming up this weekend, Friday and Saturday, a team that is surging right now, and it's as of Saturday night anyway, they were tied for first, but I think might not beat them Saturday night, so they've dropped back down to second. But still, a solid team that's playing well. And again, as we've talked about, and I've said ad nauseum that the Central Division is very close, just 11 points as of Saturday, separating the first place team and the sixth place team. But so it is still anybody's division, I guess. But Austin's a tough team. What do you expect to see from Austin?
They have good speed. They shoot the puck from everywhere. When you play Austin, you've got to do a really good job inside your house of getting underneath sticks, making sure you clear rebounds east-west, side to side, not north-south. Otherwise, you're just giving it back to their point man. And you have to really make sure you're on your toes and your effort game is good, but you're taking away time and space and pressuring as much as you can. If you give them time with their speed and some of the positives that they have, they're going to exploit you. So it's going to be really important, even though Friday's a travel day, that we get off the bus. You know how we do it. We'll go to the hotel first. Everybody will get a cold shower, take a little nap at the hotel. We got to make sure we have our legs on Friday night. Like, game plan structure, yes, but we have to have our legs. We have to make sure we're skating, and we have to make sure we're pressuring within the confines of our game plan, and we don't give them tons of time and tons of room, which they're good at getting at home.
Okay. Well, we'll look forward to that. And of course, you can hear it on 94.1 The Rock and fasthockey.com both Friday and Saturday night. Coach, can we talk a little bit about the acquisition of the defenseman from Topeka? Can you talk to us a little bit about this one player? I believe his name is Trent Foles.
Tristan Foltz, he's a Houghton, Michigan native. He was the captain of the Houghton High School hockey team last year. We have a member on our staff, our scouting staff, who was really, really fond of this player. And we felt we needed a defenseman like him who shoots the puck right-handed. We have a lot of lefties, and we just wanted to have the opportunity to have a little more lefty-righty balance on certain nights. So we like Tristan. He's athletic. He's 6'1". He skates well. He moves the puck. And he's really, really excited to be here in Aberdeen. And as he put to me on the phone when we acquired him, really get his season going. He's playing for a good program in Topeka. He wants to play a ton, and we're excited to have him. And he's a guy that we're somewhat familiar with, at least from his time at Houghton High School. And we're hopeful that he can step in and give us what we need on the back end and just make us a tougher team to play against.
Excellent. Okay, well, what does the timeline look like? When does he join the team, and when do you expect him to see some minutes?
He's here this week. We're plugging through our team concept with him this week to get him ready. He's in good shape. He's been skating. He's been playing for a really good coach and a really good program. I expect him to certainly be available this weekend and be in the lineup against Austin.
Great. Okay. Well, folks, I want to remind you, too, that the Wings are going to be at the Eagles Club on 2nd Street on Wednesday the 2nd from 2 until 4 for the Battle of the Badges, an annual event. Of course, firefighters read the police department and trying to raise blood donations and get some people to come out. So come on out and you can win a prize pack, a Wings prize pack. If you're there from 2 to 4 on Wednesday the 2nd at the Eagles Club. And then, of course, the Battle of the Badges continues on Thursday and Friday as well. So we encourage you all to get out and donate some blood and then come out and meet the Wings on Wednesday. That'll pretty much wrap it up for this week's Wings Weekly. You can, again, hear this weekend's games on 94.1 The Rock and fasthockey.com.